Hi everybody, it's Kamal Fernandez here with baby Bubblegum. He's just trotted off that way to play with his toy. I'll just wait for people to join before I start talking about what I'm going to be covering in today's session, which I'm going to be doing every day this week, where I'm introducing you to one of the puppies from my current litter, who will be staying with me for the next 4 weeks before he goes on to his new home. You guys get to follow his journey in a group that I'm going to be opening. I'll tell you a little bit more about. So I'm just going to wait for people to join me. I'm going to just grab my laptop, my iPad, to make sure that I can answer any questions you may have. So bear with me. So, nothing like preparation. So whilst the puppy's just occupying himself and he has a toy off to the side, I'm just going to talk over what we're going to be covering and why. I'm just going to wait for hopefully people are joining me, and if somebody could just give me a thumbs up to let me know that my audio is coming out, that would be great. Hey baby, you're back. Right, so obviously he can wander around. There's nothing in my environment that I'm concerned about him getting hold of or damaging. That's the first thing. So my house has obviously been well puppy proofed, other than my iPad apparently. Can you have this instead? There we go, get the toy instead. He says, now I'm going to bite you. So my house has been puppy proof because I've had puppies. So that's something to consider if you're getting a puppy or you are planning on getting a puppy. Sorry, if you've got a puppy or you're planning on getting a puppy. Let me just find this, bear with me. You want to be thinking about your environment being puppy proof. So that means, wires, cables, silk skirt and things like that are all susceptible to puppies' teeth. And if you, that's the sort of stuff that can cause upset in the household and damage the relationship you have with your puppy when you first get them home. So the premise of the course is called Puppy Perfect. It is not that all puppies are perfect, although they probably are. It's about what we can do to ensure that their learning experience and our relationship with them starts off as perfectly, inverted commas, as we possibly can make it. So it's really about the puppies, the setup, the puppy having the correct experiences to set the tone for the relationship that we're going to have with them, hopefully for the rest of their life. So obviously, I'm just going to swipe this across. So with this particular puppy, he's the one of a litter of 6. Good boy. And he has been born obviously and with his mum that lives here, and I have my X-Pen set up in the living room, which you've probably seen on social media. So there is areas that my puppies can go in. My kitchen, that's another area when I'm sort of actively when I'm engaging with them, or when I'm sort of breaking breakfast or doing Lee's breakfast. Do you want get your red panda? There you go. I can put my puppies in areas where I can supervise them, where I know they can't cause any damage, and there's nothing in that environment that I am concerned that they're going to either harm themselves or that is importance where I'm worried that they're going to cause too much issue. So everything's been obviously picked up in the house. That follows suit to having a young child, obviously. Not having things that I think are fragile or precious that I have in that environment. So my puppies benefit from that. But it's worth thinking about when you're getting a puppy. Really think about the environment and creating spaces that you're going to have them in. So my living room is a space which is set up for these guys where there's nothing that they can cause damage to or that I'm concerned about. Same with my hallway, that's another great training space. Bathrooms are great training spaces. Mine's quite small, so it means that the puppy has only limited options of what he can do or what he can destroy. Good boy. Get your red panda. Good boy. My playroom or Lee's playroom, that's another area. It has these mats. So that's several areas that I can take my training. So when you get a puppy, it's really important that you consider training, firstly, generalizing behavior, taking your training to lots of different locations. And that really starts in your home environment. So as I've already mentioned, I have several spaces like my hallway, my kitchen, my living room, my bathroom, and obviously outside, which are all spaces where I can take my dog's training. Get this instead, not me. Where I can take my puppy's training and I can generalize it to from one environment to the other. So That's really, really important to consider when you get a puppy and be preempting it. Often what will affect the relationship you have with your puppy is the puppy damages something, you know, of importance to you or your family member. Straight away the puppy's on the back foot because people have issue with the puppy, but actually if we're honest about it, it's our management of them and the environment. So consider that. I like to have an X-Pen when I have a puppy on their own. I'll have a combination of an X-Pen or a crate and a crate set up, so they have their safe space. It's normally in my living room. It's in my living room for the last puppies I've had. So it means that they can be in the space that I primarily spend time in. It's the middle space between the play area, the garden, and the house, so to speak. So it's a nice area where a lot of people will flow. So it means the puppy can see and interact with people, but also there's quieter spaces. My bedroom or my dog room would be spaces where I can pop the puppy when I want them to have sleep, and that's really, really important. To create a safe space for your puppy, not even just in the sense of a crate, get this, but also in the sense of a quiet space where the puppy can be on its own, so he can get some really good rest. That's really, really important. Often people misunderstand how much sleep puppies need, so really, really important. Okay, so today's session I'm going to be popping a collar on him shortly. This is the first time he's had a collar on, so I'm going to be using food, some of his meal, good boy, to get him to hopefully not acknowledge it. And I'm going to be starting some recall cues. So I teach several recall cues. These are cues actually that we go through in our training trainers, my training trainers program that I have with my good friend Di Martin, which is called Marker, in which we use several recall cues. We use noises, we use words, we use various ways of getting our dog to come back, and also they act as positive interrupters. So if your puppy gets into something that it shouldn't, you can use one of these various cues, these recall cues, to get your puppy out of that situation, okay? The most common one is a kissy noise. So most puppies will respond to that. You probably find that if you've had a puppy from a breeder or even a rescue puppy, they probably would have made some little kissy noise. I'm not going to do it with him now, which gets the puppy's attention. So that's a great one to introduce your puppy into condition, to get them to teach them, one, to come back, and two, as an interrupter if the puppy, is getting in a situation that it shouldn't. Second one is a little unique noise, which I've already taught them. Oh, did you get your toy? Which is going to be pup, 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 which is something that they would have heard and I would have paired with food. I use a slightly different cue with this specific litter I talked about yesterday, so I'm going to work on that. And obviously introducing his name to him. And there's several ways in which I'm going to feed him, which are going to help me distinguish between whether I want him to follow the hand, take food from the hand, or the hand becomes a cue. And that's something that can often create a lot of confusion to dogs, and therefore get them make the training not as fluid as what it could be. So I'm just doing a little bit of play, obviously, whilst I'm talking to you guys. Normally I wouldn't be, I'd be much more focused on my puppy, but obviously for the purpose of, good boy, yeah. You want your red rab? You want your red panda? Good boy. For the purpose of, yeah, you want that bit. For the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to be obviously splitting my two minds, as it were, my dog training mind and my training mind. So I'm going to move on to, and also I'm going to do a bit of shaping. So first thing I'm going to do is introduce the collar. When he does, if you'll see throughout my sessions, he will probably nip my hands or try to, in which case I just go passive and wait him out when he does that. So I've got some food set up in the bathroom. So I've got my collar ready, and I'm going to, again, be mindful of my environment. I don't want him to go there because there's food up on the side. He hasn't been shown at all. It's your choice and self-control around the food yet. That's something that we will be working on shortly, but I'm managing the environment, okay? So I'm going to get some food and treats, okay? And in this instance, I've got quite high-value treats. This is some mince and some bits of sausage, okay? So obviously I want to be mindful of what I use for my puppies. If they have sensitive stomachs, think about the food that you use. He's got, as you can see, he's very into his food. So I'm going to get my collar and I'm going to have it over my wrist at first and just get him to put his nose in it. So I like to just get my puppies comfortable with, because eventually I like to take my collars on and off my puppies, and I like them to be able to want to put it over their head. So I like to slip it over like that and teach them really young that it's a good thing to have that slipped on their head. Obviously also I can snap, this is a collar with a snap clip, which I'm attachment, which I much prefer than a buckle. It means that it's easy to get on and off the puppy, and I can do it with one hand, as you can see, as I'm puppy wrangling, so to speak. So I'm going to do that again. So close it up over my, hang on baby, hang on, he loves his food. Good boy. Close it up there. Put the treat, so I'm just luring him with a treat or giving him a treat, and as he eats the treat and he pushes his head through, I just slip it over his face like so. Good boy. So again, really, really easy to do. Very simple to put a collar. I always have my puppies' collars quite loose, and I don't have them on them when I'm not with them. So after this session, I'll remove that, okay? So I'm going to reload with some food. I'm keeping the pole of the puppy, managing his environment. Well, managing the environment, I should say. I've now got some food with me. I'm going to shut the door. So I'm going to work on some of his recall cues. So the first one I'm going to teach him is that kissy noise, okay? And I'm going to use, oh, I've got a bit of food on my hand. I'm going to use what I call bowl hands, what we call at marker bowl hands. When I cup the hand as if it's a little bowl, I'm going to deliver food to that, okay? So if I pop him down, I'll show you how that looks, okay? So he knows that I've got food. So I'm going to have my treats all ready. Good boy. Says he loves his food. I'm going to do this standing up, so I'm going to let him wander off a bit. So he's noticed the collar. So I'm going to do my... Good, and feed him as he comes with my hand cupped. And as he's eating, I'm reloading the food in that hand. Good boy. So I'm going to do another one. So break these up into little tiny pieces. So again, make the noise, pair it with food. So I'm classically conditioning him to respond to that cue, I should say. So I'll get my food ready. So, yep, good, and deliver. Good. So I'm cupping my hand. And as he's going towards the hand, oh, I'm just dropping treats into that bowl. Good boy, stay. Good boy, nice, okay? So I'll do it with the other hand. So my hand's cupped like so. Make my noise. Come here, Bub. Good. Yep, good. Good, it's a little kissy noise with my hand. Yep, and I deliver it with bowl hands, okay? So that's one recall. Now the second recall I'm going to be doing, similar process, okay, or exact same process but I change the cue, is where I'm going to use his puppy nest cue that we used, okay? So with mine, with my litter, I used, and you want to speak to the breeder about this, which what their cue they used, I'm going to use, yep, good. And I'm clicking him with his food marker word, which is YIP, as he returns to me. Good boys, let's do one more. Okay, so he's off the lead. There's no lead attached to him, obviously, because he's in a confined space, so it means that I can allow him a bit of freedom. Obviously, if I was doing another location, I would be having the puppy on the lead, so I can teach him to, so I can limit again his options to make error. So I'm going to do one this way, so let's do one more. Good, nice. Put it in my bowl hand. Good boy. Drop another treat. Good boy. This is not the easiest to work with because it's mince, but I can break bits off and give it to him. Good boy. So, one more. Yep. Nice. Good. So that's my second recall cue. So I've got my kissy noise. I've got my my puppy cue. I can also do bop, 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 bop. Yep. Good. Nice. Good boy. Same thing again. So these can all be interplayed, okay? And you're teaching your puppy to respond. So these I might use. Say my puppy was getting distracted. I want to get away from another dog. The puppy was going to be chewing something. I can be using one of these cues to get my dog to come back to me. So obviously the other thing I'm going to teach him is his name, okay? And I'm going to just start that with by collar grab. Always says I'm wearing my collar, so collar grab and feed. Good boy. Let's do another one. So I'm going to touch his collar. If you have a really sensitive puppy, you might have to break this down. Yeah, he's not bothered by it, so good boy. I'm happy to progress to touching his collar. So you need to consider that. If you have a very sensitive breed or sensitive dog, you might want to piece this down into smaller pieces. Yep, yip, good. Click the dog for approaching them, which is a really good thing to teach. So, yip, good. As soon as my hand goes towards him, I click him and feed him. So, yip, good. So as soon as I make contact with that collar, okay, yip, good, nice. Let's do another one. Yip, good. That was slightly ahead there. Let's just touch his collar first. Let's do that again. So, yip, good, nice boy, good. Okay, so now I've got him beginning to understand. Yip, every time I touch his collar, I'm going to click him and give him a treat. So he's getting comfortable with the collar being touched. Yep, good. Nice one. Okay, good boy. Yeah. I know. Whoa, whoa. So breaking up with a bit of play. Mr. Red Panda. He's distracted by his collar. Hey. Hey. Get Mr. Panda. There he is. Whoa. Whoa! Whoa! There he is, Mr. Panda. Whoa! 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 Let's see if I can get him to stop being distracted by the collar. Yeah! There he is. Good boy. Good. Well done. So, I'm going to pick him up whilst I regroup and do the next exercise. So, going over the beginning of recall cues. Kissy noise. Doing my my generic pup, pup, pup. My da-da-da-da-das, that's 3, and also starting to introduce the collar grab. So now I'm going to introduce his name, and I'm going to use my collar grab to teach it. Now, obviously, you may want to do this over several sessions, depending on your puppy, but this is all the foundation layers that is going to allow him to be in an environment and me be able to have some resemblance of control over him or get him away from situations which I can then take out in the big wide world and I can build on. So I'm going to move on to teaching him his name. So super exciting step. So, let's get some. So again, I've got my food up high, out of his way, so hopefully he's not distracted. So I'm going to go back and do some work on his recall, okay, with his name this time. So same thing, I'm going to use the collar grab. Badger, yep, good. Badger, yep, good. Say the name. So the same thing, I'm using my collar grab. So touch the collar. Badger. Yep, good. Nice. Okay. Now once I've got that, I can start to do it when I'm moving around a bit. And again, these things, because of the paraplastic conditioning, it's going to work really, really quickly. Badger. Yep, good. Nice one. Okay. So let's go over here. Badger. Yep, good. Nice. Badger. Yep, good. Nice. Good boy. So let's go over here. Come here, hurry up. Come on. Come on. Good. Badger. Yep. Good. Nice boy. Okay, so as he trots back to me, again, because of the environment, he's gravitating to me more because he knows that I have food, but I'm now attaching his name to that response. Come, Baba. Badger. Yep. Good. Well done. Super. Good boy. So the other thing I'm going to also teach him is to start following a finger point, which is going to be his cue to say follow the hand. So, yep, good. And I can switch to bowl hand as he follows the hand. Yep, good. Nice. So he's beginning to understand that my lure hand, my finger pointed down to the ground, means follow it. My hand cut like a bowl means come towards me, and I can obviously then interject that into his recalls. So great little start for the puppy. I'm actually going to bite the bullet and do a little bit of shaping with him. So, good boy. Well done. And for this, I'm going to take the collar off, okay? So I don't want you to be distracted by that. Good boy. So, when I first put a collar on a puppy, it's very brief. I put them on. I do something really positive with them. Take the collar off the puppy, okay? So the puppy's been conditioned that the collar equates to good things happening to them. Really, really important thing. I don't want them to be sitting there scratching. And generally speaking, relatively quickly, they become happy to have the collar on, and then I can have it, obviously, as and when I need it. I tend not to have collars on my dogs when they're loose in this situation, but just because of a safety entity, but I certainly want to be progressing to eventually having it on them when I need to, and that's my dogs generally will wear collars when in day-to-day life, unless obviously I'm concerned about them catching it, etc. And so certainly with a puppy where there's more risk, I would be removing it. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some shaping. So I've got my object off the side. This is one that you may again have seen me. You may have seen me use before. So it's a large inflatable cushion. This is a FitPaws one. And the idea is I'm going to get him to hopefully stand on it. Now, obviously, in this environment, it's really obvious. So you can essentially sort of propose that I'm using errorless learning, where the dog is highly unlikely that he's going to make wrong choices because the hall is small, the item's big, he's small, the chances of him standing on it are high. So that means I'm going to increase the chances or the probability of the behaviour happening, which allows me to reinforce it. But I definitely want to then test if he understands that getting on the item is the thing that earns him reinforcement. So what I'm doing is sowing the seed with the puppy to do something to earn something, yeah, so to get food off me. And that's the beginning of how I will teach a lot of my skills and life skills, whether it be going in a crate, going on a dog bed, you know, doing a hand touch, doing a recall, do something to get something. And this is the first way in which I teach it. And it also allows me to have food in sight and the dog understand that the food being shown to him isn't how you necessarily get the food. So for this, I'm actually going to have the bowl in my hand and I'm going to start to teach the puppy to get on this item. He at this point can wander off and do what he wants because I've not started my training. And he hasn't been trained in this environment consistently where he anticipates good things happening into this little space. So obviously, since I've had the puppies, and this is something I urge you all to consider, you want to create a space where the dog anticipates training is about to happen. So, you know, a section of your house, a section of your environment, so the dog understands the clarity of when you're about to start training and therefore when you need them to be focused. You can then attach a word to that. And so show time, party time, play time, action, ready, steady, anything like that that says to the puppy, hey, we're about to be playing those fun games. But first, I want to condition the dog to be in a safe space or a space where there's minimal distraction and the puppy can receive reinforcement for behaviour. Okay, so I'm going to get my bowl of food. So because I've only got a little bit left, I'm going to keep this session really... Oh, oh, failed there by the puppy, took me out. So, good boy, yeah, good, as he clipped the camera there. So, I'm going to use this object. I'm just going to adjust the camera because you've put it out of line, mate. Good boy. Don't work with dogs around little kids, they say, or animals and children, I should say. So, let's try that again. So, I'm going to start with my... hopefully getting on this item. I've only got a minimal amount of food, so I'm not going to do the session very long, which is really, really critical. Short and sweet in your training. Keep them wanting to do at this stage. We want to create the dog wanting to train and wanting to engage with you. Again, to create that perfect puppy, we want a puppy that's focused and understands that I equate to good things happening to them. So he's obviously noticed that I've got something in my hand, or he can see it. And as soon as I pop this down, I'm going to see if the puppy offers any interest in this item. Ooh. Good. Nice. So I'm going to feed him there. Good. I'm going to wait to see. Yeah, good. So I'm feeding him centrally very deliberately to encourage. Yeah, good boy. Good. Here you go. Good. Not good. So I could use a solid item if you want. This wobbles a little bit. Okay, break. Good, see he comes off. And it's a bit raised. I like my puppies to be conscious of they're standing on something. So there's an awareness. Yes, good boy. Here. Good. That I want them to get on the item. Nice boy. Good, so he just made a choice there to step towards it as opposed to look at the food. Good boy. Okay, it's nice, good. So, nice, good boy, super, good, nice, here you go, good, super. So multiple feeds when he goes on the item, break, whee. Good. Nice. So I'm not clicking the approximations. I'm going to wait for him to make the complete behaviour, i.e. get completely on it. Let him wander off. Good boy, nice. Ooh, good. See his little brain working. Nice boy. Good. And think a bit more. How do I get treats of this guy? So I'm going to wait a little bit more. Good boy. He stepped on it there a little bit. Good boy. Well, at this stage, obviously, he doesn't know what I want him to do. Yep, good. Apparently he does. Good boy. So I'm going to stop there. So I'm going to feed him in position. Good boy. Nice. Good. Good boy. Good. Good boy. Very good. So first little session, just getting him to offer, going on the blue disc, and starting the concept of the puppy understanding to offer behaviour for reinforcement. So that's, obviously I shape my dogs to do a lot of things, and one of the foundation behaviours I teach is my dog to get on something as well. Good boy. Break. So, there you go. Good boy. So pick that up, and then into my session. I'm going to pop that in there so you can't. Good boy. There we go. Good. So starting to sow seeds there for the puppy I want him to become. One that's receptive to learning, that understands to offer behaviour, and understands that even in the presence of reinforcement, i.e. something he really, really wants, he still has to be receptive to what I would like him to do to gain access to that. That metaphor will be applicable to his whole life, whether that eventually is a distraction, something in his environment, food on the floor, his understanding if you want the thing, food, toys, chase the bunnies, etc. Offer the behaviour to gain access to that. So just a very simple session with the puppy there, showing some foundation elements. So introducing his collar, which I did for a very brief period of time. I'm getting it to slip over his head, which is what I like my puppies to understand and to cope with. Starting his recall cues. So using generic cues to get him to come back, which can then evolve into positive interrupters. Teaching him to respond to his name, which you saw at the beginning of, and doing a bit of shaping with him with food in my in a bowl, so getting him to understand that concept, and also doing the various feeding mechanics, bowl hand and lure hand. All right, so just simple stuff with the puppy. I'm going to have a look if there's any questions on anything that I've covered. Let's have a quick look. And anybody wants to ask anything? Hey, little guy. Oh, you're knocked over again. Not the best. Come here, you. Good boy. It's a very short wire. I should get a longer wire, a longer cable. There we go. Okay, so I'll hang on to him so he can't cause mischief. There we go. Get a longer. That's a note to self. Why did you... So why did I have food in the other room? Good question. Oh, hang on. So I had food in the other room because if I have it, obviously he's learning. And my first part of my session was to work on recalls. Having the food in his sight, it then becomes a distraction. He's too young, and obviously he's just learning. At this stage, I don't want to put a distraction in. I want to build in the understanding of coming back to those various recall cues. So having the food out of sight and hopefully out of him not being able to smell it directly minimises the distraction level. Now, progressively, I would absolutely want to be having it in his training environment. And I want to work against that. So that's when I probably would be in my kitchen, so I can put it up on the countertop, and I can teach him to ignore the food up on the side and focus on me. So I'll introduce that to him in the next couple of sessions. So just starting to say, well, if there's food or a distraction, something that you want, the idea is that you've got to focus. But the other thing is, obviously, the food I was using was very high value. You could see whilst he's interested in his panda, he definitely is more foodie. Certainly when it's that high value, and that's something I'd want to build. I want to be able to switch between the two things. That's not something that I'm particularly worried about. He definitely has desire for toys, but he's also a little gannet, so I have to tread that line a bit carefully. Okay, so where did you get rubber cushions from? So that one's Fit Paws. I think you can order them online. There is various makes of them. I've got loads of them, different sizes, different shapes. I use them for different things, body awareness, obviously, and conditioning, but also teaching skills like you saw me cover with the puppy, where he's learning to offer behaviour. Part of his foundation training, or a puppy foundation training, will be teaching them certain foundation shaping skills. Get on something, get in something, go around something, pick something up, and targeting behaviour. All those things, if you teach them, can teach any single behaviour for any dog sport currently available. You just amalgamate them, or you put them in different chains, and you can teach any single behaviour. All of that stuff is stuff that I cover on Puppy Perfect, where you can see me teach that with other dogs, and how all the pieces eventually come together for the various exercises that I'm going to teach them to do. Okay. All right, you guys, I think that's all the questions. So again, just a quick mid-morning live with the puppy. I'm going to mix up the times as we go on through the week so that you can see me do different stuff with him, and more people can hopefully access the videos. This will be available, and if you're interested in following the month that I have Bubblegum, formerly Bubblegum, stay with me before he goes on to his pastures new. You can join Puppy Perfect as from next week. And it will be 12 months access to, the first month will be daily training with this particular puppy, and then following with my previous puppies that I've owned and students' puppies, teaching and all the fundamentals for dog sports, and also a great family pet. So turning your puppy perfect or perfect puppy into the perfect adult. So that's the premise of the course. I'm really looking forward to it. I love puppies, as you can gather, and I love sharing that information, and also starting them off and all the things that they can grow into and how you cultivate it, and seeing them get those little aha moments. So really, really love it. So yeah, any other questions? Let's have a look. Excellent. Oh, excellent. A puppy for Hoop as well. Excellent. How exciting. That'd be really fun for you. So I'm going to love you guys and leave you guys. Enjoy the rest of the day, whatever you're doing. This guy's going to go and probably have a nap now, or certainly go out and have a little romp around and have a nap. And then I've got lessons to do, so I shall leave you to it. Enjoy wherever you are, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.